Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Manjiri Nadkarni, Ayurvedic MD, registered holistic nutritionist, back today. We are at day 61 of 100 Days of Ayurveda. So it's super exciting. Wow, we've come a long way. Day 61 is something. So today I'll be discussing about animal fats. We have discussed about ghee separately in an entire video. We have discussed different kind of oils separately in a video, and I just thought I would hop on and start discussing about animal fats. And in today's world, animal fats, like especially fish oils, have kind of taken over the health food industry, and you can see a lot of benefits of fish oils. So let's talk about those, and I'll be discussing a few things, and I'll be sharing a few of my personal experience as well. So again, if you are watching this live, I can see Uttamji and Ushaji here, so a big hello to you both. And if you are watching this live, please comment in the comment section. If you are watching this as a replay, please put a hashtag as replay, and then I know you watch this later on. And if you have any questions for me at any point of time during the live stream or even after, you can just post your questions in the comment section. And also, you can um, tag me if you want to get these videos easily. Some of them have been missing a few of my old videos, and if you can't access it, a few of them are also on YouTube. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post the YouTube link here as well. So if you can always go, like I'm trying to record it to my Facebook page, I'm also trying to record it to YouTube at the same time. So what you can do is, if you miss something, you can always go to YouTube and you can find it out. It's easier to kind of search for things on YouTube.
You started a Shopify store.
It's just running ads. I'm trying to find the link, and oops, okay. Okay, my channel, and just give me 1 second and I'll quickly post the link to my YouTube. So for those, if you have any trouble finding this one, if you have any trouble, accessing the old videos, you can definitely find it on my channel. And if you subscribe, it's just easier for me as well. So this is the link to my YouTube, or maybe the link wasn't copied, sorry. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Perfect. So I'm just going to delete the previous one, and this is the link. HTTPS. Yeah, perfect. So today we're talking about animal fats. So the main difference between plant-based fats that we mentioned, last week, we were discussing about it last time, and what we're going to discuss today is more about animal fat. So one of the main difference when we talk about animal fat versus that of plant-based fats is the presence of saturated or unsaturated fats. So when we talk about saturated fats are tightly packed with with double bonds, right? So there are no double bonds between fatty acids, are known as saturated fats. And one of the distinguishing factors is that they're mainly solid at room temperature. And because they are already saturated, you cannot create trans fats easily from them, right? So this is a little bit more to do with the hydrogen bonds between them. So saturated fats are found in beef, lamb, pork, any kind of chicken product. So any of the lard or your bone marrow, or even coconut oil, palm oils have some saturated fats. Milk products, cheese, cream, they're all going to have saturated fats, right? So when we talk about plant-based fats, so usually these are loosely packed. The unsaturated fats are not as dense, and they are liquid at room temperature, right? And there are two main kinds: monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats. So there are two different kinds. So when we talk about polyunsaturated fats, and I'm talking about the saturated versus unsaturated, because I'll give you a little idea about the discussion on the fish oils, right? So that's what we're discussing. So when we talk about polyunsaturated fats, our body needs these to function, right? So they help with your muscle movement, they help with blood clotting, they help with lots of things, and our body cannot make these PUFAs, and they're further divided into omega 3 and omega 6. So when we talk about omega 3s, they're found to be extremely beneficial for our heart health in today's world. And a few plant products will also contain it, right? So when we talk about different, vegetarian sources, your flaxseed, as we mentioned the last time, is going to have omega 3s. Your walnuts are going to have omega 3s. Chia seeds, sunflower seeds, hemp seeds are going to have, PUFAs or omega 3s as well, but also your fatty fish, right? So when we talk about sardines, we talk about tuna, salmon, trout, mackerel, herring. We talk about, any kind of oysters as well. They are going to have your omega 3s. And the main thing these omega 3s do is they decrease your inflammation. So when we talk about inflammation in the body, omega 3s can help decrease your inflammation in the body. And that is one of the reasons why they are important, right? So I have already discussed the animal sources. I have also discussed the plant sources. So when we talk about fish oils, fish oils are extremely generous in these kind of fatty acids, or omega 3s. And I'm just going to look at a few statistics as well because I have the numbers here. So there are also, um, you know, a few questions that I commonly get is cod liver oil. Right. So what's the difference between cod liver oil and fish oil? Because a lot of us have had cod liver oil growing up, so sometimes your mom would feed it to you, or you would just take it to prevent colds or just for your immunity or for your strength. So cod liver oil is specifically extracted from the liver of cod fish, right? And fish oils are extracted from skin and sometimes other fleshy parts as well. So a lot of the times any fish product like that's discarded is also processed into fish oils, and that is why you have to be extremely careful when you are buying fish oils, right? So when buying supplements, do not buy cheap supplements because you might do more harm to yourself. Anything that's oil based, those oils can go rancid easily, the oils can get oxidized easily. So always invest in good quality oils, right? So going back again to the fish oil and the cod liver oil. So the main difference between the cod liver oil and fish oil is that cod liver oil is mainly extracted from the cod's liver, and it is also going to have vitamin D as well as vitamin A, right? So it's not just something that has omega 3s, but it is also something that has vitamin D as well as vitamin A. And fish oils typically have more omega 3s. There are two categories of omega 3s, EPA and DHA. I'm not going to pronounce the full names because they'll just confuse you, right? So EPA and DHA are, if you read the label of any fish oil bottle, you're going to see EPA and DHA. So EPA is the first one, right, on the sequence, and they'll always put the DHA as the lower one. So what EPA does is EPA is found to be a lot more anti-inflammatory, and DHA is important for your brain function and your eye function. So EPA is more to do with inflammation. DHA is more to do with the strength of the organ, the strength of your brain, the strength of your eyes, the strength of your, joints and all that. So structural strength comes from DHA. Anti-inflammatory effect typically comes from EPA, right? So when we talk about cod liver oil has less EPA DHA as compared to other fish oils, right? So it has about 9% EPA and 14% DHA. But if you look at fish oil, which comes from the flesh of the fish or the skin of the fish, the EPA is going to be 18%, and typically the DHA is going to be 12% at least, right? So that's kind of the difference between the two. So in the olden days in Ayurvedic texts, you're not going to find the mention of fish oil. You will find the mention of fish, having fish therapeutically, and what kind of fish to have, what kind of fish not to have, right? So you'll find different information on fish, but there is no specific separate topic of fish oil, because fish oil was not processed then. In the olden days in Ayurveda, you would eat it as naturally as possible, right? You would eat food as naturally without processing it as possible. And because Ayurveda is also inculcated or embedded is the better word, so embedded in the Indian culture, a lot of the times you end up imbibing certain customs or certain aspects of Ayurveda in your daily life as well, right? So fish is definitely mentioned. We don't have a separate topic of fish oil, at least to my knowledge. And what has been mentioned is bone marrow as well as animal fat in the form of muscle fat or vasa, which can also be understood as lard or is close enough to lard, right? So those are the two things that have been mentioned. So my own experience with fish and fish oil is that I belong to the Gaud Saraswat Brahmin community of in India, which has fish as one of the staple diets, right? So fish is a typical diet. We are pescatarians, so we eat fish. And in the olden days, like my ancestors would just consider fish as the fruit of the sea. So it was not looked upon something as non-vegetarian. And the myth is that, as there was famine on the land, there was no food, and the communities that were situated on the banks of the Saraswati River, they prayed to the goddess Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom. So they always worshipped her, and that's why they belong to the Saraswat, community. They also prayed to the river, and the river provided them with fish, and they would eat like the middle part of the fish and tie the head and tail together. So that's kind of the myth that follows with it. But one of the reasons, like, it also gives you amazing skin and hair, and that's something I've seen a lot in like my community. Like lots of people have really good hair, really good skin texture, and that could be one of the cases. Might be, might not be, like I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's attributed to it. So Uttamji is asking me a question: animal bone marrow is an edible fat? Yes, it is an edible fat. So in Ayurvedic medicine, we have described properties of what we call muscle fat and also bone marrow. So we talk about 4 categories of fats in Ayurveda. There's an entire chapter called Snehadhyay in the Sutrasthan for those who are Ayurvedic practitioners. So it's the chapter number 13. And in the Charak Samhita, you can see there are different categories or 4 main categories. So we talk about ghee or clarified butter. We talk about any kind of plant-based oils, tail. We talk about vasa, which is more animal fat, or muscle fat, which can be loosely correlated with lard. And we also talk about bone marrow, right? And when we talk about muscle fat and bone marrow, you have to understand that you need to have a really strong digestion. So with today's popularity of keto diets, or high fat diets, a lot of people are really moving towards a high fat diet, or having bacon for breakfast. That's typically done nowadays in keto. And I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong. You have to always figure out your dosha, your agni status, and then go for a certain diet. And especially when trying keto diet and having high amounts of animal fats, whether it's lard or whether it's excess amounts of like bone marrow, which sometimes people will scoop out and put it on their toast as well. The one thing to pay attention is they are heavy to digest, right? So being saturated fats, they're also heavy to digest. So if your digestion does not break them down, they have the capacity to end up clogging your arteries, right? And that is one of the reasons why a lot of the health um, health websites and everybody will talk about not wanting or not using saturated fats, and all the heart associations, and everybody talks about minimizing your intake of saturated fat. So saturated fat is meant for people who are doing hard physical labor, right? Or if you have any cracked bones, or if you are extremely tired, you have extreme amounts of vata aggravation in your body, only then will these heavier animal fats like lard or bone marrow work for you, right? Fish oil is comparatively less denser, less heavier as compared to muscle fat and bone marrow. So it's still going to be heavier to digest as compared to animal based or plant based oils, but it's going to be easier to digest than muscle fat and bone marrow, right? And people who have extreme dryness, who have lost a lot of weight, who are lifting weight, or who are into marathon or really like super active, and they have a lot of depletion of kapha, they have lots of depletion of body fat as well, or they have severe pain in the joints, or they have severe pain in their tendons, and extreme aggravation of vata, but they have a stronger digestive power. So those people should consume animal fat, right? So if you are doing ketosis and having a lot of animal fats, keep in mind you have to focus on your digestion and make sure you don't have a kapha body type, or you don't have excess kapha or excess weight or excess fat in your body. And when we talk about bone marrow again requires a stronger digestive capacity. If you can tolerate, for people who are who can digest large quantities of food, or who do a lot of physical exertion, if your bowel movement is really dry, right, and if you have extreme vata aggravation, then we would ask you to consume bone marrow, right? And also in practice, when I work with clients, if they have issues related to degeneration of bone marrow or majjadhatu or nerve or demyelination, I will advise them to take some bone marrow therapeutically, because from the principle of like feeds like, that really helps balance the vata. So if you have extreme aggravation of vata in the body, certain conditions like MS, or certain conditions where you have like a lot going on like in the neurological system, right? At that time I do recommend having bone marrow for my clients. So those are a few things. Now going back to the animal fat, so for when we talk about fish oils, or going back to fish oils, who can have fish oils and who should not be having fish oils? So first of all, if you have a lot of inflammation, fish oil is going to be a pretty good choice for you, because it's going to really help balance your body. And in today's world, when we talk about the omega 3s, there are a lot more. There are two categories of the PUFAs that we talked about: omega 3 and omega 6. Omega 6s are the ones that inflame you, right? So if you have a lot of canola oil, or safflower oil, or soybean oil, or sunflower oil, or corn oil, or walnut oil, these oils that are typically found in most of our foods are omega 6s, and they can actually create inflammation in your body, right? So if you are consuming canola oil on a regular basis, or sunflower oil, or soybean oil, right, if you are using all these oils, the one thing you have to keep in mind is, if your body gets inflamed, they did a research in America, and they found that most people have about 20 times more omega 6s than the omega 3s. And the ratio should be 2:1, which has become 1:20. Right? So for those people, you can definitely try to have some fatty fish in your diet, or include fish oil. So when we talk about fatty fish, sardines, tuna, salmon, trout, mackerel, herring, these are common fattier fishes that you can have in your diet. So even if you have salmon like twice a week, or that would definitely help, right? You can have flaxseed in your diet. You can grind it up and you can have that. That's also going to serve as, omega 3. You can have oysters if you prefer oysters. If you're a vegetarian, you can go for walnuts. So these things will help bump up the ratio of omega 3s in your body. And especially if you have inflammation, this is going to help you, right? Any questions so far? Okay, I'm going to talk about, yeah, Johanna, so thank you for watching live. I am talking about omega 3s versus 6s. I'm not talking about 9s today, because that's another topic. But maybe I'll have a separate talk on 3, 6, 9 one of the days, and also include omega 7 and all those, right? So when we talk about fish oils in a pill form, you can take it as a pill or you can take it as a liquid. Always buy a clean, reputable source, right? Do not cheap out on fish oils because you might not get good quality ones. So if you buy it in a pill form, you can definitely use it. And therapeutically, as a practitioner in certain conditions, I do use fish oils in my practice pretty much. Um, some of the indications are, if people have trouble focusing or people have issues with their memory, I will use it for enhancing their memory and helping them focus, because your brain is typically 60% fat, right? So your brain is the fattiest organ in the body, and that is why you need omega 3s as well. So it helps stabilize the brain. It also helps decrease the inflammation in your brain as well. And when we talk about different kinds of foods, right? So when we talk about different inflammatory foods, when we talk about sugar, the one thing that people don't realize is when we talk about having inflammation, there are also people who are walking every day with inflamed brains, right? And that is why you're having brain fog, that is why you cannot focus, that is why you feel scattered or you're unable to concentrate, that is why you're getting forgetful. So when you talk about having excess inflammation in the body, don't be surprised if this inflammation is going to reach your brain, right? So Uttamji is asking me a question: as a general supplement, should you never take omega 6? Most people get omega 6 enough in their diet. You don't need to take an additional omega 6 supplement, but you do need to be more conscious about incorporating omega 3s in your diet, whether it's in the form of fish or in the form of a fish oil or flax seeds or walnuts or chia seeds, right? So these are a few things that you can definitely incorporate in your body, in your diet for omega 3s, not typically for omega 6s, because omega 6 you're already getting enough, right? So when we talk about fish oil is also really good, or omega 3s are also extremely good for your heart health, right? So there are studies which show that people who eat fish have much lower rates of heart disease, sorry. And there are a lot of multiple risk factors for heart disease are reduced by consumption of fish or fish oil, right? So fish oils and heart health, what ends up happening is, it can increase your good cholesterol or HDL. So you need good cholesterol or HDL to protect your heart, right? It has a protective action on your heart. But when you look at LDL, it is the bad cholesterol, or it's not so good for you. It's going to create more inflammation. So having fish oil can also lower your triglycerides by up to 15 to 30%. Your blood pressure also gets reduced if you are using fish oils. If you have any kind of plaque, your arteries are getting hardened, this can, um, fish oils can help prevent this plaque and prevent the hardening of your arteries as well, right? And for people who have arrhythmias or their heartbeat is not consistent, right? They have abnormal heart rhythms. So for these people, it also reduces the risk of, heart related fatal arrhythmias or certain things, right? So this is how fish oil can really help prevent, heart attacks or strokes. So it can help with heart conditions. Yeah, so take omega 3s only, Uttamji. That's what I'm saying. Only you need to take omega 3s only. You don't really need omega 6s. So when going back, we talked about heart health and omega 3s or fish oils. Now we can talk about mental health disorders, right? So as I mentioned, 60% of your brain is fat, and omega 3s can help normalize your brain function. So if you have a lot of inflammation in the body, chances are your brain is also inflamed, and that is why you're forgetful, that is why you're getting frustrated, that is why you cannot focus, that is why you're having constant mood swings, or that is why you're suddenly feeling extremely depressed or you're extremely anxious. So having fish oil can really reduce symptoms of different mental disorders. It can help enhance your memory, and supplementing with fish oil in high doses also reduced, there are studies done that it did reduce certain symptoms of both schizophrenia as well as bipolar disorder, right? So if you have psychiatric conditions, or if you know somebody that is prone to depression, if you know some of your family member that is prone to anxiety, make sure they're using fish oil in their own diet or in their own supplement regimen, and it works amazingly. So now we talk about weight loss, right? So obesity typically is something where your BMI or body mass index is about 30, right? So with obesity you also have more risk about your heart disease, you have type 2 diabetes, and all the risks are increased. Fish oils can actually help improve body composition, right? Fish oils can help you lose the weight. They also have ALA, alpha lipoic acid, and they also can help bring down the inflammation in your body. What is seen is that if you have a lot of fatty tissue, excess fat in your body, fat is also a very inflammatory tissue, right? So if you have fish oils, your inflammation also gets lowered and you can lose weight easily, right? The other beautiful thing about fish oils is it also supports your eye health. So when we talk about your brain health, we also have to look at your eye health, right? And your eye health ends up declining in old age, but also today, in a lot of young kids, you can see that they don't have as much visual capacity. So if you start taking fish oils, it will really help your eyesight, and it also helps lubricate your eyes, so you're not going to have as much dry eyes, right? We already spoke about inflammation even for your skin, right? So your skin is again the largest organ in your body, and it also has a lot of omega 3s. So for your skin health, to get a nice glow, to prevent aging, to strengthen your skin, that it can also stay strong even with a lot of sun exposure, you need to incorporate fish oils in your diet, right? One of the times fish oils are also extremely important is when pregnancy, right? So for pregnancy, fish oils are extremely important because the fetus needs omega 3s for its early development, especially for the development of brain and eyes, right? So if you are somebody who's pregnant or planning to conceive or breastfeeding, make sure you're incorporating fish oils in your diet. And this is really going to help with the kids. It helps improve hand-eye coordination in kids. It also helps improve their brain capacity, right? So that's something you can definitely use. When we talk about fish oil and liver, right? So your liver is the main metabolic machinery, the main metabolic organ in your body. So liver is the one that's going to help process the fats. So fats are also processed through pancreatic enzymes, but your liver secretes bile, which is stored in the gallbladder, and that also helps in breaking down the fat, right? So a lot of the times, you can see people with inflamed livers, which are very common. So fatty liver condition is extremely common, and non-alcoholic fatty liver disorder is extremely common. So if you are an alcoholic or have had lots of alcohol and are recovering alcoholic, chances are that alcohol has damaged your liver. But we also find fatty liver today commonly in people who have had no exposure to alcohol, right? So especially for this non-alcoholic fatty liver conditions, fish oils can really help improve liver function as well as reduce the inflammation. When we talk about going back to depression or mental health, depression, people with depression, they've seen that have lower levels of blood omega 3s, right? So if you have fish oils, or if you supplement with fish oils, omega 3 supplements, you can improve the symptoms of depression. The one thing going back to liver is also that you need to have a normal liver to be able to digest fat, right? And your liver also stores vitamins A, D, E, and K, which are fat soluble. So having good amounts of fat is always going to help. Um, so cod liver oil is slightly sweetish naturally, but you have to make sure you're buying a brand that is not artificially adding different substances, right? So with the health industry, there are different options. With the health industry, always look at the products. I'll always look at how they're processed, right? Always look at they have minimum stuff added. Even with fish oils, to mask the taste, you can definitely add, we can get them in lemon flavor for kids. You can get cotton candy flavors, and some of them have natural flavors. Some of them don't have as much good flavor, right? You can get different kinds. So for those who are local, feel free to visit Blue Water Nutrition, right? So if you say that you're watching my videos, you also get like a 20% discount on any of the products. But feel free to visit Blue Water Nutrition. We're open 9:30 to 6, and we have lots of varieties. So whether you want to buy pills, or you want like a liquid, or you want to look at cod liver oil, and we carry really good quality fish oil. So feel free to visit Blue Water Nutrition. Amandeep is asking me that people who can't digest cod liver oil, what are the options for them? So not always do you have to take cod liver oil. You can definitely take a fish oil. And if you can't digest fish oil, you can go for flaxseed oil, right? Or you can also get omega-3 sourced by algae, which are the vegan form. So microalgae are found in the sea, right? So the fish will actually eat the algae, and that's how the fish get, or it's called, I think, phytoplankton or something. So fish will eat this microalgae in the sea, and that's how they will get omega-3s, right? So you can also get it through those algae. So if you are reacting to cod liver oil, or if you want to have an omega-3 source, which is not fish-based, you're a vegan, or you have vegetarian dietary preference, you can always go for flaxseed oil, or you can go for the omega-3 liquid that you can get from algae as well. And there are different companies that would have those as well, for sure. Okay, so one of the other indications, and I've seen this to work extremely well in my practice, is if you have, hyperactivity in kids, right? So attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, ADD, So in these kind of disorders where there's a lot of hyperactivity, where there's a lot of vata aggravation, where there's a lot of loss of focus, where, kids can't sit one side, they're having like a lot of tantrums, and sometimes there's impulsiveness or even aggression with kids, this fish oils can work amazingly. You have to give it in high doses though. And what I have done, or what I've seen in my practice is, I have to adapt the dose as per the patient or the client. I cannot tell you exactly how much dose, but I go way beyond what's on the bottle, right? So depending on what's going on with the person or the child, I will give a dose that's much higher. And it also thins your blood a little bit, right? So if you start noticing any kind of bruising, that's when you're taking too many omega-3s, right? And your blood is getting slightly thinner, so you can cut back a little bit on it. But this works amazing. So omega-3 heat sensitive related to cooking fish. So cooking fish, like ideally, if you cook at lower temperatures, like any time, with anything that's oil based, if you cook it at extremely high temperatures, chances are the fats get oxidized, right? The good thing about saturated fat that's found in fish oil, mainly like PUFAs are, polyunsaturated fat. So you have to be a little bit careful. But because fish also have a lot more saturated fat, so it's kind of a mixture, what you can do is cook it on a low to medium heat. Like don't cook it at high flame because you will lose all the benefits. So also another thing I wanted to mention is, as we age, our brain function starts declining. The risk of Alzheimer's keeps increasing, which is also seen pretty commonly in today's world. So they have also seen that people who eat more fish tend to experience a slower decline in brain function, right? And that is why fish oil may be beneficial for improving memory. Fish oils also work really good long term for your allergies, right? So if you are having asthma, if you have a lot of allergies to different environmental factors, specifically anything related to your lung, if you're having recurrent bronchitis and all, you can definitely start incorporating fish oils, and that is going to really help you. Also for your bone health, for your joint health, your bones stay nice and supple, and your joints stay nice and supple, sorry, and are well lubricated, if you take fish oils. And Also, omega-3s can work extremely well, right? So if you are taking omega-3s, you tend to have a better bone mineral density. That is what they've also seen with the studies, right? So if you're looking to eat fish, try to include at least 1 to 2 times a week, right? Always try to buy wild caught fish. Avoid buying farmed fish because you're not sure how they're fed and you're not sure if they will have enough omega-3s as well. So also the fish intake would depend on the source, or the quality of the fish would determine how much omega-3s they would have. So Mugdha is asking me what's the best time to have fish oil. Usually in the morning is a good time to take fish oil. So if you are studying, right, so this is my specific formula that I used a lot when I was studying or when I have to focus. So taking B complex, and my mom would feed me B complex since I was a kid. I don't know, she would just run after me with the B complex bottle, and I used to hate the smell of it, and she would literally like force feed a spoon to me. But now I've seen the benefits. So taking B complex along with fish oils at the same time works amazing for your memory, focus, and attention. So Mugdha, I know you're studying. So if you're studying, try to take it in the morning, right? You can take like either liquid. Nutricy is a good brand too. They do have, New Chapter has really good fish oils as well. Nutricy comes in liquid. They have different flavors. So you're not going to feel that excess burp, right? So take fish oils in the morning and take it with B complex. If you are somebody who's doing a lot of mental activity, if you are having issues with your eye function or any kind of brain health, eye health you're looking for, B complex usually works amazing with brain health, right? Eye health, you can definitely take fish oils, right? And there are different Ayurvedic herbs as well that work for your eyes, but we'll have a different topic definitely on fish oil. So does anybody have any more questions in regards to fish oils or lard or um, any kind of animal fat? So just recapping the whole thing, fish oils are mainly important for omega-3, right, which are anti-inflammatory. The main difference between cod liver oil and fish oil is that cod liver oil is extracted mainly from the liver of the cod fish, and fish oil usually comes either from the skin or it comes from different parts of fleshy parts of the fish, right? So that's the difference. Cod liver oil has less amounts of EPA, DHA, or omega-3s, but it also has vitamin A as well as D, right? If you look at fish oils, they're going to have more omega-3s than cod liver oil. So this is what you should try to see what it is that you want, and that's what's going to help you understand that whether should you choose cod liver oil or should you choose fish oil. Going back to lard, which can be understood vaguely as vasa. Vasa is more categorized as muscle fat in Ayurveda, right? Which has been used therapeutically, but lard is also pretty popular today considering the keto diet and the high fat diets, right? Bone marrow can also be used therapeutically, but if you are using high amounts of saturated fats, like mainly even bone marrow or lard, as I'm mentioning, right? Make sure your digestion is extremely strong. If you have a weak digestion, you are not going to digest the fat, and that's going to create issues in your body. And the other thing to do is if you take fish oils and you're having issues with digestion, always take it with warm water, right? So in Ayurveda, warm water is considered to be the best digestive. It's going to aid digestion. It's going to really support you. So when you are having fat intake, especially for, I think they've Vasa and Majja in Ayurveda, they've mentioned mudgayush or soup, light soups or some warm soups to be had, if you're having like a lot of bone marrow or lard. But technically, like having warm water is going to make it more digestible, make it more absorbable, right? So these are a few things I discussed. And if you are somebody who's studying or who does a lot of brain work, does a lot of calculations, if you feel your brain function is not as good as it was 20 years ago, you're having issues with your memory, take fish oils in combination with B complex and you will start noticing the difference, right, in a few days. So thank you all for watching this live, and it was a pleasure to share my thoughts on fish. And I'm pretty much a pescatarian. I don't eat fish as I should, but I don't get as cleaner fish anymore. So um, it's sometimes challenging to even procure fish. So for those who are wondering where to get good quality fish, I usually get it from Costco, and I will get the wild caught ones as much as I can. I try not to buy any farmed fish as much as I can. So I'll always look at the ingredients. If it's a canned tuna, which I'll occasionally have, I'll always look for that, that it's wild source and it's not been farmed. So at least they're not fed with junk, right? So that's the one thing you can find. And fish in your diet is an easier protein to digest as compared to meats, right? So if you don't have a stronger digestion, if you're having a hard time digesting even chicken or beef or lamb, it can serve as a really good quality protein, and it's going to be comparatively easier to digest. So that's something you can definitely try incorporating in your diet 1 to 2 times. Salmon is supposed to be one of the best ones, right? um, because it also has a lot of omega-3s, and the skin of the salmon is also going to have some vitamin D. So making sure you're having a little bit of skin as well when you're having that salmon fillet. So that's all for today. I will be doing Facebook Lives Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 o'clock. So I've switched the time a little bit so I can wind down at night. And I'll be sharing different things every week. So this week, I'm going to talk about hair care, which is the next one. And I still have to look what I decided today. So yeah, the next one is on Wednesday. We are going to be talking about Ayurvedic hair care. That's day 62 of 100 days of Ayurveda. Day 63, I'm going to discuss 10 tips to cool off in this summer season. We are nearing summer solstice. Summer solstice is on the 20th of June. 21st, we're having an eclipse. So the energies are going to be pretty crazy in the next few days. So just drink lots of water, start taking your fish oils and be complex, so you stay mentally balanced and much calmer, right? Because the energies are going to be crazy. Like eclipses are always a crazy time. But I'll be sharing about that. And the week after, right? So next week, I'm going to talk about thyroid. I know a few of you requested thyroid, and I did a radio show on thyroid, but for some reason, I couldn't record it. I just couldn't record the video for whatever reason, because I was calling in from my phone and it would have just been a bit chaotic. But I have all my notes, and I've divided the thyroid talk into 3 parts to make sure I'm not overwhelming anybody and giving them as much, or giving you as much information as I can. So this week we're going to discuss hair care on Wednesday. On Friday, it's going to be all about cooling off in the summer season. Hopefully the temperatures start increasing by then. And the next week, we're going to discuss everything about thyroid. So all 3 sessions I'm going to devote to thyroid. So we'll be discussing how to figure out if your thyroid is not functioning well, what to do about it, and all sorts of things we're going to discuss. So once again, thank you very much for watching this live. Thanks for all your support. And thanks for investing all this time and learning more about Ayurveda. So I'm really appreciating you from the bottom of my heart. Thanks. Have a fantastic night, and I'll see you on Wednesday, 8 o'clock for hair care with Ayurveda. Till then, have a fantastic night and stay safe and stay happy, and take some good fish oil and be complex. Bye for now.